Welcome back. Today we are going to start talking about persuasion, which is, put simply, just selling you stuff and ideas. So the way we're going to kick this off is by looking at some classic advertisements and commercials, and we're going to do this through the lens of something called Monroe's motivated sequence. Now, this is really important because this is sort of 5 steps towards persuasion, and these 5 steps are how you are going to organize your persuasive speech. So, we're going to go through each one of those 5 steps. We'll explain it. We'll look at some examples, and then you'll be ready to kind of start piecing together bits and pieces of a speech. So the first thing that we have to do in any speech, but particularly when we're trying to persuade people, is we have to grab their attention. So those late night infomercials that wake you up when you've fallen asleep on your couch at 2 a.m., they usually use this whole, look at this goofball who can't do anything right. This is a classic way of sort of grabbing people's attention. And it's a really cheesy way that a lot of people usually understand. So in this example, we see the mom who can't even pour a glass of soda without ruining family game night. We have this guy who can't sit down with a tray of food without spilling it everywhere. And kind of the same predicament for this guy. He just doesn't have enough hands. So in these examples, the way they grab your attention is, look at this dummy, look at this goofball who can't do anything right. It's so silly. And you all are pretty familiar with this appeal. You've been using it in your speeches up until this point, having some kind of attention getter. And that is where we're starting with Monroe's motivated sequence. That is step 1 of Monroe's, is attention. We got to grab the attention of our audience before we can convince them to do anything. So after we've grabbed our audience's attention, then we move on to step 2, which is need. In this step, we are establishing a need or problem that our target audience is facing, and we are proving that it is so serious and that the consequences are so bad that we have to address this. Otherwise, there's going to be really negative impacts. Who knows what could happen? So when we're looking at this step in Monroe's motivated sequence, we are selling people a need or a problem. We are convincing them that they have some kind of unmet need, because we can't give them a solution unless we give them the need or the problem first. They have to feel like they need to solve this problem, right? And early advertisements in the 30s, 40s, 50s, partly into the 60s were really good at this, because even more than they were selling a product, they were selling a way to create need in you or inform you of a problem that maybe you didn't even know you had. So this is an old ad for Listerine. He doesn't kiss you goodbye. Well, how's your breath today? They are really banking on, we're convincing you that there's a problem. You might not even know that this problem exists, but let me tell you, you've got it. So this is another Listerine commercial. This one doesn't even hardly mention the product, right? We are focusing solely on the need. This one is sort of the original FOMO. She wasn't invited to the dance because she has halitosis. So these are sales pitches largely based on fear or shame or social ostracization. That appeal has shown through research to be a little bit less effective in selling products, but they do a really good job of freaking people out. They also do a really good job of sort of illustrating my point here. They establish the need. They are focusing on the problem rather than the solution. So here is another example. This is an ad from the 1930s when sort of a regular social and courting activity was to go out dancing. And we are convincing you or persuading you of a need or a problem that you have. So in this instance, it's don't forget that guys can smell your hair when they're dancing with you. So that's something that's actually a problem you probably didn't even know you had, but here we are. Lysol was a classic in this genre of selling people a need or a problem, convincing them that there was a problem they didn't even know that they had. She was a jewel of a wife with just one flaw. She was guilty of the one neglect that mars many marriages, another love match shipwrecked. These were for Lysol as a product for its intended use, which was a hygiene product, a personal hygiene product, not so much a cleansing or astringent. So again, we are appealing here to the need that someone has. We are selling them on a need. We are convincing them they have a problem, a need that needs to be met, a problem that needs to be solved. Here's kind of a different take on a similar approach. So this is an advertisement by a guy named Bill Bernbach. He's often credited as just a really big player in this shift in advertising. He was the creative director behind launching Volkswagen in America after World War II, which was a tough sell at that time. He did this ad along with the really famous like Think Small and Lemon ads. If you've seen Mad Men, that might ring a bell. But he also did this TV ad, which was really revolutionary at the time, particularly for a TV commercial. Because, well, one reason is because it had only about as many words as like would fit into the headline of a print ad. And he also uses something that eventually becomes a really classic technique, which is posing the need as a question and sort of just letting the audience fill in the blanks from there.
Have you ever wondered how the man who drives a snowplow drives to the snowplow? This one drives a Volkswagen.
So again, there we're getting this kind of revolutionary at the time, now sort of classic presentation of the need as a question. So step one, in Monroe's motivated sequence, we have grabbed our audience's attention. Great. Number two, step two, we have convinced them that they have some kind of need that has gone unfulfilled. And not just any need. This need is so serious that you really need to do something about it. Because we cannot sell someone on a satisfaction or a solution unless we have convinced them that they have a need for it or that they have a problem that needs to be solved. So, step one, attention. Step two, need. Step three, satisfaction. So now we are presenting the action, or in this case, product, that will satisfy the need that we have convinced our audience of in step two. So in this example, we have a Coca-Cola advertisement. The ideal brain tonic specific for headache relieves mental and physical exhaustion, when the ingredient list was much different than it is today. Here's another example. You can't set her free, but you can help her feel less anxious. So these are examples, again, of selling us the solution to this problem or selling us the satisfaction to this need. In this advertisement, they've already done the work of convincing us that there's a problem, that it went without saying. And so they're skipping right to step three. Here's your solution for it, right? This was pretty classic in a whole lot of ads for things like antidepressants, anti-anxiety, all kinds of drugs in that genre. So step one. We've convinced our audience step one, we've gained our audience's attention. Step two, we have convinced them that there's this big need that they have, this unfulfilled need, this unmet need. And it just so happens that I have the satisfaction to that need. It just so happens that I have the perfect solution to that problem I convinced you of. That's step 3. Step 4, we get to visualization. And this is where we help our audience imagine all the benefits of solving this need, of solving this problem. So this step is usually like really aspirational. It's very visual. Maybe we have vivid descriptions. Marlboro is a great example of this. Really changed the game by selling Marlboro as a lifestyle, just as much or even more than it was kind of selling a product. So it was essentially selling the lifestyle of working hard and living free. And this meant that their ads focused almost entirely on visualization. And we still see this a lot today. If you think for just a second of brands that sell a lifestyle through their advertising, brands like Apple focus on that a lot. Energy drinks focus on that, Red Bull, Monster, that sort of thing. They're selling you a lifestyle or selling you this visual. Imagine what your life will be like now that you have done this thing or bought this thing. Subaru is a brand that really focuses on this a lot. And this commercial we're about to watch is a great example of it. Notice how little they focus on the product. They are selling you this idea of what your life will be like now that you have this thing, now that you have this need met or satisfied.
Does this map show the Peninsula
The
Trail?
shopkeeper shakes his head.
Peninsula Trail. You won't find that on a map.
Says an old man in the back,
I'll take you there.
walking with a white cane. The couple, skeptical at first, invite him into the back seat of their Subaru.
You hungry? Me too. Take this left.
They drive up to a rustic seaside diner.
Now don't eat just yet.
They inhale the aromas. Next stop, a cliff overlooking the ocean.
Feel the wind? If you listen real hard, you can hear the whales.
Their arms extended. Back in the Subaru, then a hike after dark.
This is my favorite part of the forest.
His cane strikes a log and he steps over it. The woman trips over the log, then reaches her hand to the old man's shoulder. They hike together.
Just listen. Hear that?
A white owl.
Our Subaru Outback lets us see the world. Sometimes in ways we never imagined.
So now that we have gained your attention, we have convinced you that there is a really big problem or need in your life, then we can give you the solution to that need or problem. Then we help you visualize how amazing your life will be now that you have solved this problem, now that you have met this need. And then finally, we got to lock it in. We have to seal the deal with the action step. Step 5 is action. So this is where you are giving your audience all of the necessary information in order to complete the steps or at least take the first steps towards doing this thing.
Hi, it's Fitz with Slap Chop. You're gonna be in a great mood this all day. You're gonna get the Grady after 5. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-951-7713. Call now and you'll get the Grady absolutely free with the Slap Chop. When you call, ask about our foldable.
So the important part about the need step is that we are giving our audience all of the information that they need to take that action. So it's the call now, it's the here's the website, call this number, act fast. Here's the first step you need to take in order to make this thing happen. So to kind of wrap it all together, here are our 5 steps of Monroe's motivated sequence. So step 1, we're getting their attention. We are drawing in our audience. Step 2 is the need. So we are convincing them that they have a need or a problem. Then in step 3, we're giving them the satisfaction. We're giving the thing that they need to solve that problem or to meet that need. Step 4 is the visualization. We are making it part of their new life. Imagine what the world will be like once this problem is solved, once you've done this thing, once you've bought this product. And then finally, we get to step 5, which is action. How do we get started? This is where we seal the deal. Here's your first step. Call this number. Go to this website. This is where we wrap everything up. So now that we have discussed Monroe's motivated sequence, your next steps are to go check out the diagram. I've posted this on our learning page. And then the next thing we're going to do is test your knowledge a little bit. And what I've done is sort of taken short chunks of a speech, using Monroe's motivated sequence. I've chopped it up into little chunks and I've mixed them up. So the assignment that you need to do to complete this module is to go put those chunks of a speech in the correct order, and you're going to match up kind of the few sentences that I have for each part of that speech to which step in Monroe's motivated sequence that it belongs to. When I see you next, we'll start talking about getting our topics settled.